On this episode of Love on the Rocks, we bring you an update on the Suzanne Simpson missing person case.
Ever start a jigsaw puzzle and realize, halfway through that you're missing a few key pieces?
Yeah, I know. That feeling makes you want to just flip the table.
That's exactly what trying to unpack the Suzanne Simpson case feels like. Our listeners are following the story, and let me tell you, it's even wilder than the headline suggests.
We've got a whole stack of articles here, and honestly, the more we dig, the more baffled we get.
Right. We're talking a missing realtor, a husband who's been arrested, and a search that's gone from, a ritzy San Antonio neighborhood to a landfill. It's like every new detail just adds another layer to the mystery.
It makes you realize things aren't always as they appear.
Exactly. So for anyone just joining us, let's start with the basics. Who is Suzanne Simpson and what happened?
So Suzanne Simpson, she was a realtor, well-respected in San Antonio, a mother of 4, last seen October 6th. And get this, in her own neighborhood near the Olmos Basin. You know, that area is known for being pretty affluent, peaceful. The fact that someone could vanish from there just adds to the whole unsettling feeling of this case.
Totally. Makes you wonder what went down in those missing hours.
Right. And as the police started looking into it, everyone's attention turned to her husband, Brad Simpson.
Because he got picked up by the police, Kendall County, just a few days later. This is where things get weird for me. Assault and unlawful restraint, both misdemeanors, but his bond, $2 million.
Definitely unusual. Makes you think that even though they haven't charged him with anything else yet, the authorities might suspect he's involved in his wife's disappearance somehow. They want to make sure he sticks around.
It's like they're saying, we're on to you, but with, a 7-figure price tag attached.
Exactly. And then to make things more complicated, there's the federal detainer. ATF slapped that on him, which usually means possible firearms charges, which adds a whole other dimension to this.
Whoa, a federal detainer. This is getting intense. What's the ATF looking into that the local police might have missed?
It's not clear yet, but apparently there's talk of a short-barreled rifle that was found at the Simpson house. If you have one of those without the proper registration, that's a federal offense right there.
Okay, so that explains the ATF's involvement, but how does a gun, even an illegal one, tie back to Suzanne's disappearance? Especially since, as far as we know, she wasn't shot.
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Some pieces of this puzzle seem to be missing, and others, well, they don't even seem like they belong.
And on top of all that, you've got the authorities searching a landfill. That's not something they do lightly.
Nope, not at all. Landfill searches are, grim. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. It means they think Suzanne Simpson might not be alive anymore. And that's something that could help.
That's a chilling thought. But it also means they must have a lead, right? They wouldn't just start digging through mountains of trash on a hunch.
Exactly. There's got to be something that points them towards that landfill. Maybe something they founded the Simpson house. Or maybe a witness said something we just don't know yet.
This is where my mind starts running wild with possibilities. What if someone saw something off near that landfill? Or maybe security footage captured something the police aren't talking about.
And when we started digging into his background, let me tell you, we found some things. Financial troubles, questionable business deals. It's messy.
Okay, lay it on me. What kind of financial problems are we talking?
Just for starters, there are court records, right? 2 lawsuits from American Express, both against Brad for, get this, unpaid credit card bills. One of them, he even got hit with a default judgment.
2 lawsuits from American Express. That's not just forgetting to pay your bill for a couple of months. That sounds like something seriously off with his finances.
It does seem that way, and it gets more interesting. So Brad, he worked for Cotter & Sons. You know, a big real estate company with properties in San Antonio. He was there for 10 years. But it wasn't all smooth sailing.
This is where that whole janitorial contract thing comes in, right? What was that all about?
You got it. So a local janitorial company, they sued Cotter & Sons. They claimed that Brad and another executive basically tricked them into signing a cleaning contract.
Tricked them, like they were trying to pull one over on them.
But then Cotter & Sons, they fired back. They accused Brad of, get this, starting his own janitorial company on the side. And then he was funneling business their way, but it jacked up prices.
So they're saying he was using his job at Cotter & Sons to make himself extra money.
Exactly. They said he basically scammed them, took them for a ton of money, called it commercial bribery, breach of fiduciary duty, the whole 9 yards.
Wow, talk about a messy situation.
Yeah.
So what happened? Did anyone believe Cotter and Son?
Here's the thing. The jury sided with the janitorial company that started the whole thing. But, and this is a big but, they didn't hold Brad personally responsible for any of it.
So the little guy wins, but Cotter and Sons, they don't really get what they wanted.
You said it. They wanted to prove Brad was behind it all. Wanted him to pay, but they just couldn't make it stick with the jury. But get this, the case dragged on forever. Even went to the Texas Supreme Court. Ended in a confidential settlement. We may never know what went down.
So much for transparency. But even if Brad didn't have to pay, all that doesn't exactly make him sound trustworthy.
You know, it definitely raises some red flags.
Especially with all the other money problems. We're trying to figure out a motive here, and money that can drive people to do crazy things.
It's true, but we gotta be careful about jumping to conclusions. Just because someone's having money troubles doesn't automatically make them capable of hurting someone, for sure.
For sure. We're just looking at what we know. But this case, it's full of surprises. It's like, on the one hand, you've got these shady business deals, the money problems, doesn't look good for Brad at all. But then there's the other side of the story. Brad's lawyer, he's saying Brad did nothing wrong, that he was totally cleared in that whole Cotter and Sons mess. Right. So, which version of Brad Simpson are we supposed to believe? Is he being set up? Or is there a whole lot more that we just haven't uncovered yet?
It's tough, right? 2 sides to every story, and it's up to the investigators to figure out what's true. But no matter what, one thing's for sure, Brad Simpson, he's a complicated guy. And somewhere in all that might be the answer to what happened to Suzanne.
Absolutely. So how do we even begin to make sense of all this? Shady business deals over here, money troubles over there, but then his lawyer's saying he's in the clear and doing just fine. What's the real story?
Right? It's like you're talking about 2 different people. And here's another thing. He's got this property, big piece of land, even has a building on it. Bought it from his mother out in Bandera, a small town in the Texas Hill Country outside San Antonio, worth over $500,000. At least, that's what they're saying.
$500,000? That's not chump change. So if he's struggling with money like those lawsuits suggest, how is he holding on to a place like that?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Maybe we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg with his finances. Maybe there's more money stashed away somewhere. Other ways he's bringing in cash.
Okay, so it might not be as straightforward as it seems, but let's talk about that landfill search. That's the big one, right? What happens if they find something that ties Brad to Suzanne's disappearance? Won't that be the end of it?
Absolutely. If they find something, especially something that points to foul play, that changes everything. That could be the missing piece. The thing that leads to more serious charges. We might finally find out what really happened to Suzanne.
And what if they don't find anything? Are we back at square one?
Not necessarily. It'd be a setback for sure, but it's not over. These investigations, they're not always straightforward. New leads could pop up. A witness could come forward. They might find something in the lab they missed before. You never know.
So we've got a long way to go, it seems. What should we be paying attention to? What's going to be the key to cracking this whole thing wide open?
Well, keep your eyes peeled for the results of that landfill search. What they find or don't find, that's going to tell us a lot. Then there's the ATF investigation. That gun they found. What's the deal with that? And of course, the million-dollar question. Motive. Did this happen randomly, or did maybe someone close to Suzanne have a reason to want her gone?
So many questions, and right now, so few answers. It's a heart-wrenching story, and we can only imagine what Suzanne's family is going through. We'll keep digging, keep following every lead, and we'll be here to break it all down for you as the story develops. Because in a case like this, every detail matters. Every piece of the puzzle brings us one step closer to the truth behind Suzanne Simpson's disappearance.
Make sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all the developments of the Suzanne Clark Simpson case, as well as other cases we are tracking. And please don't forget to like this program. It helps us in our efforts to bring you all the latest news and information, and continue to watch this space.